Hello and welcome back to Shapes. We are going to take a consolidated look at levels 20 through 26 today, just so that we can get to the Make Anything machine in a reasonable amount of episodes. The hub here is requesting this shape. This shape is a little bit of a challenge because we need this floating piece to be small, and if you were to just chop this piece off and stack it with this piece, it would just create a large square. So we're going to have to somehow figure out how to overhang it and then slice it and then glue it back together. So there's all we need is circles and squares for this one, so we're just going to come up to here. We have some room right here. We're going to work right here and see what we can do with this shape. The game's also been running a while, so we have these upgrades. I tried to save up enough so I could upgrade these all at once. We have 200,000, so well, a lot of them. So we can upgrade all those. We now need this shape, which is actually the shape we're working on, so that makes sense. We already have enough saved up of this shape, so we just got to work on this shape. So we start with mixing up some white paint, and then we just paint some circles right here. We take those circles down here and split them into fours. This third line here goes off to a future portion of the factory. These other three bays get restacked over here to make this shape. We, in the meantime, are cutting up squares down here and sending half of them to a future factory, half of them up to here. That creates this crazy shape here after we stack them. The left-hand side of the shape is what we want. The right-hand side of the shape is garbage. So we will cut them over here, and this leaves us with the left-hand side of the shape, which is what we're looking for. In the meantime, we have these circles coming from when we split the circles up previously. We have this other half of the square being cut up, throwing away the extra portion and just leaving this upper square here. That gets stacked over here to make the right hand side of the shape. So now we have the right hand side of the shape and the left hand side of the shape. All we have to do is stack those together here, and that makes our current shape. So we can send this off to the hub. That'll get everything going, and I am working on building a second copy of this factory up here to speed it along, since we are going to need it for all these upgrades anyway. So that'll get that shape done. We'll move on to the next shape shortly. Before we get to the level 21 shape here, we have some upgrades available. I am able to upgrade all these at once. It requires 200,000. We have 243. So let's go ahead and upgrade these. Looks like we might be near the end of the significant upgrades. This only upgrades it by 0.1 now. We just got an achievement for having all upgrades on tier 8 or higher. So that is good there. And now we can go to the currents. This is, we unlocked, by completing the last level, we unlocked this crazy painter thing. It requires wires to operate, so this button here turns them on and off. There are wires on this layer that we will go over once we get to the Make Anything machine, but this basically controls inputs, and it will only paint certain quadrants if it has a signal coming in through the wire. So right now it goes to all of them, it just supplies all of them for now, but we will go over that in more depth once we get to the Make Anything machine. So that is that. So it basically just made a whole bunch of red and white, crazy amounts of red and white paint, which is what all these mixers are. These things are super inefficient. They eat paint like it's nobody's business. It goes through a whole belt of paint just to make this one shape, and this doesn't even make a full belt of these shapes. So not very efficient, but it'll do for now. So I basically made it paint every other quadrant red and white. So white comes in here, red comes in there, creates this shape, and then down here I alternated to white on the bottom and red on the top instead of red on the bottom. So that made this shape. And all we have to do is basically stack these two shapes. You can see this is just an alternating pattern. So it gets stacked on top of each other, and then it gets split and just stacked, restacked on top of each other, which creates this final shape here. So I'm going to maybe copy this one or two times somewhere else and make a whole bunch of white paint, but we'll get this going to the hub in the meantime. The level 22 shape got a little messy. This down here is our level 21 shape. somewhat nicely organized, nicely laid out. This is our level 22 shape. Some parts of it are up here, some parts are up here, so we're going to try not to make it that sloppy again. But let's zoom in, take a quick look. I just have the gray circles coming into this quad painter. They are being painted alternating red and green coming into the painter here. 2 belts of it to make a full belt. And then that gets stacked on top of a white circle, which makes this shape here. And we just go along, slice this shape, and rotate it so that it matches the correct orientation of this shape. And we make a whole bunch of yellow pieces up here. We got yellow circles in here, again being cut and rotated so that they are the proper orientation. And we have some star pieces coming in up here that were just sliced off of a random shape up top. And these are being stacked on top of each other, so the half circle gets stacked on top of the star to create this needle. And that piece just gets sent down to, there's 2 belts of it here, gets sent down to the base of the compass, and this makes our shape right here. So that is there, that goes down here, there's 2 belts full of it, so we gotta connect that up to the hub. Level 23 shape, while it looks complicated, it's actually just the same shape 3 different times, once rotated this way and then stacked on top of each other. I have done a fairly large setup right up here for it, but it came out very nicely organized. A little bit of belt spaghetti in the middle here, but we basically have circles being painted cyan, stars being painted yellow, run them through quad cutters, and then stacked in pairs like this. And then we have same thing on the circles, stacked in pairs, and then they are stacked with their counterpart to create this shape. And then we just basically stack these shapes on top of each other to get to this shape. So rather straightforward. Go down to the hub here and get these going on the I'll get those to the hub. That shouldn't take very long at all. Take a look at level 24. It is four layers. We have a yellow circle, opposite stars here, and this shape, which I was able to find on the map here, right here. So I just painted that cyan and white. I did all my color mixing up here. And then down here we've got the star corners. So I stack those together. And then I put a yellow circle on top of them. Now notice this doesn't really look like the right shape compared to this, but when you stack it on top of this shape, it comes out looking right. So I only did 1 belt of these, so this is going to take a little bit longer to do, but we will get it to the hub and get to shape 25. Level 25 shape is this one here. It is these 2 green squares, and as well as this shape. This shape we were already using for the last level right here, so we have easy access to that shape. Now in between shapes I've been looking at the wiki to see what the next shape is so I can start working on that so I don't have to wait while this is being delivered. So that's kind of sped things up a little bit, which is nice. I've also finished this shape way early because it was relatively simple. So I have a whole bunch of it in storage. So we can go take a quick look at the shape. Over here, this is the shape that we're already using. So I just painted it white over here. Relatively simple. And then we just painted squares green. Put them through a quad cutter. And basically restacked them 2 and 2 so that we have this shape here, and then we are just basically stacking the, I don't know why that shape is stopped. Why is that shape stopped? Oh, because I deleted the thing accidentally. So that is basically stacking that shape and making the shapes. Very straightforward. So let's go release the storage, and we can work on the last shape, level 26, before starting the Make Anything machine. Alright, the rocket shape here. It was kind of complicated. I kind of got stuck on it, looked at the wiki a little bit, and still didn't quite understand it, but I've got it working. Let's go over it and take a look. This is red circles being painted red and stars being painted red. So nothing crazy there. And then I just take the stars and the circles and divide them, cut them into 4s. Okay, so that's here and here. Now the circles I take over here and I just combine to make this little radioactive symbol here and down here. And same thing with the stars here. I rotate 2 of them to make the tail of the shape, so I'm working on making this shape right here. So those 2 go up here and they get stacked, and we make that shape right there. So I have 2 belts full of that shape there. The other 2 portions of the star go down here and just get stacked to this piece here. And I take one of the rocket pieces here, bring it down, and combine it with this piece to make this crazy thing. So basically the right hand side of the shape is what we want. The left hand side of the shape is garbage because it's got this crazy extra piece on it. So we're going to cut this in half right here and save the right hand side of the piece, throw away the left hand side of the piece. We're going to do exactly opposite on the other piece of the little rocket we have. We're going to cut it and save the left hand side of the piece and throw away the right hand side of the piece. So we have left hand side of the rocket and the right hand side of the rocket. But you cannot combine these because they will basically just normalize and make one shape that's not on different layers. Because right now we need this piece to be bigger than this piece, like it is here. But if we combine these, it'll all just make one shape and it'll all be the same size. So what we did was we took a white circle on the left hand side of this shape and pasted it on top of it. And then we combined that with the right hand side of the shape that was already scaled differently, this big arrow, this big star piece and a little circle piece. And that basically made our rocket here. So that this overhang here basically allows us to attach this piece without losing the scaling of these 2 pieces. So then the rocket, all we have to do is paint a circle here in quadrants. I just used the quad painter here, very inefficient, but for what we're doing it's fine. And put the rocket on top, and there is the rocket piece. So we'll take that to the hub, and that'll take a while to run because I only have 1 belt of it. But we will start thinking about the MAM. Let's take a quick overview of the board here. I have all my upgrade shapes up here, upgrade 1, upgrade 2, and the rocket. So those can all stay. I do have the blueprint currency piece being made down here. I'm going to move that up to here. There's a shape right here that we can use to make the blueprint shape. And we put the blueprint shape up here. That way I can delete this entire bottom portion of the factory, as well as all this portion of the factory. We can move our lonely blueprints over to the other side of the board, and that'll give us 3/4 of the board to work with to build our Make Anything machine. So I will basically clear off the board in between episodes, move this piece up here, and next episode we will start looking at the Make Anything machine. It's going to take me a day or 2 to kind of come up with a plan on what I want to do, but I look forward to seeing you then. So that's going to do it for this episode. Thanks for watching.